This video is sponsored by UnlockThatPhone.com. Unlock any phone, any carrier, worldwide. Visit UnlockThatPhone.com for more information. Hey guys, Jared here. So after about 24 hours with this device, I guess it's time to give you my first impressions of the new Samsung Galaxy S5. Let's go ahead and take a look. So the new Samsung Galaxy S5 looks awfully like the Samsung Galaxy S4. I think the biggest change externally, I suppose we should say, in design is the new backing here. Thank God Samsung got rid of that disgustingly slimy and slippery glossy back that they've insisted on using for 2 phone generations in a row now. Absolutely very happy that they decided to change this. It's not a fingerprint magnet, it's not slippery, it's not slimy, it's perfect, though it is still plastic. Not the end of the world for me. We do have a 16 megapixel rear shooter. Awesome camera, capable of also recording up to 4K, otherwise known as UHD. And then we have this. This is the heart rate monitor or pulse rate monitor or whatever they're calling it these days. I'm not a huge fan of it. I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to be using it, and I totally respect that, and it's probably perfect for you guys out there. However, for myself personally, I'm never going to use it, and I can't stand the fact that knowing that I just spent whatever $700, again, depending on where you go to shop, about $700 on a device that has a big hardware feature on it that I am never going to use. Much like a lot of what's been dubbed Samsung Galaxy gimmick features, that being, you know, all the motion gestures and wave gestures and air and all this other bloody stuff they've got, that the majority of people out there don't actually use all of them. In fact, I've never used any of those features because although they work, everything always has to be optimal for those particular features to work. But anyways, let's continue moving on. So on the bottom of the device, we've got this little flap here, and that's because, yes, if you guys have been paying attention to the news, this is a water-resistant and dust-resistant device. Am I a huge fan of there being a flap on the charging port of my phone? Not really. However, if it prevents my phone from becoming a brick when I decide to forget to pull it out of my pants before I toss them into the washing machine, that's a small price to pay, isn't it? Plus, we've got this USB 3.0 port, which is pretty awesome, so super high data transfer speeds. And if you guys were wondering, in case you guys were confused, you can still use your traditional micro USB cable for that. On the top here, we still have our IR blaster, which is awesome, and I hope that manufacturers never get rid of that because I think that having an IR blaster on a phone is the coolest thing ever. 3.5mm headphones jack, nothing special there. Volume rockers and power button, as you can see there. Moving into the phone, of course, you can see that I've got flight mode enabled, and that's because it's really nice and sunny outside, and all of my friends are messaging and calling me saying, let's go do something. So as soon as I'm done this video, I'm out the door. I want to talk about the performance of this device. Now, this is running a Snapdragon 801 processor. It's a quad-core processor, clocked at 2.5 gigahertz. Lightning fast processor. It's super awesome and it performs really well on the HTC One M8. I haven't, oh, and it's got 2 gigs of RAM, whatever, no big deal there. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that the HTC One has a Snapdragon 801, the Galaxy S5 has a Snapdragon 801. The Galaxy S5, I believe, is actually clocked a little bit higher than the HTC Ones. The thing is, though, is that the performance that I felt on the HTC One compared to the S5, I'm not doing a comparison video, I'm just talking about performance right now. It just isn't the same as the HTC One. The HTC One just seems that much snappier, that much quicker, smoother. It's so hard to explain. You have to have experience with both devices, I guess. But I just prefer the performance feeling that I got on the HTC One. Feel free to disagree with me, I have no problem with that, but I just felt like the HTC One was just a little bit that je ne sais quoi, as people say. That said, though, I haven't really felt any lag on the device. It just, you know, the animations just don't seem as pew, like I hit the, you know, the folder on the HTC One, it just bam, like it opens up. Still an animation, but it opens up so much quicker. I've even gone as far as jumping into the developer options and actually scaling the animation speed down to 0.5, which is as low as it goes before it actually turns off the animations. Then you click on that and it just pops up, which I prefer having the animation, which kind of makes up for the whole, like, making everything seem and look beautiful. The UI has had a massive facelift. So big hats off to Samsung for making it very, in my opinion, a much nicer looking UI than standard TouchWiz. But don't get confused. Although it feels lighter on the surface than previous version of TouchWiz, it's still got just as much of the useless features and it's just as heavy as the user experience as before. In fact, if anything, it's a little bit heavier with the addition of a couple of extra options. But those extra options are actually welcomed features. One of them being download booster. So if you guys aren't familiar with what download booster is, you got a 30 megabyte file or something 30 megabytes or above, as long as you're within range of both Wi-Fi and data at the same time, it'll actually download that file using both radios. So way faster than it would ever have before. We've also got this ultimate power saving feature, much like the HTC One's extreme power saving feature. I played around with it. I actually really like it. It still allows you to connect to the internet and so on and so forth. You can browse the internet, you can send and receive text messages, make phone calls and so on, but it actually gives you also 3 extra spots for Samsung approved applications to use. So if you wanted Twitter or something else to still be connected, then you've got that option. I'm not a huge fan of the S Finder and the Quick Connect being here, though the Quick Connect is sort of a useful feature. More on that in the full review. We'll go ahead and jump into our settings menu here, and as you can see, again, further changes are very apparent here. We've got some different list views or settings views that you can choose. So we've got list view, right? If you want to go super old school. We have tab view, sort of old school touch whiz, but I do prefer this new grid view. And the reason behind that is because it's got this quick settings here. So these are actually 90% of the time all the settings that I use when I actually find myself in a device settings. It's basically everything here is what I use 95% of the time. But if you do want to access any of the other settings options here, maybe you find yourself in network connections a lot. Maybe you find yourself in sound and display a lot. Or maybe you don't. Go ahead and, oops, shoot, god damn it. Go ahead and tuck those away, right? And now you've kept your settings options to a minimum, and I'm really digging that. Now, as far as the fingerprint scanner is concerned, because yes, the home button does actually act as a fingerprint scanner, contrary to popular belief, you don't actually have to only be able to swipe down, basically making it a two-handed action. I actually tested it out with my thumb here because I wanted to see if I could get away with doing a one-handed thing, and I was able to. I'm able to swipe my thumb down that way, and I was able to save a fingerprint scan and be able to unlock my phone that way. That said though, I'm still not a huge fan of the implementation of these fingerprint scanners because they still don't work the way that I want them to, the way that I've seen them on sci-fi films where you just go boop and then it just does it. It goes, you know, the whole thing. I still find myself more often than not having to swipe 2 or 3 times before it actually unlocks, and then sometimes every now and then I run out of the how many times I can swipe before it asks me to enter my code. And if I want to get into my device now, I want to get into my device now. So although it's cool, unless I find myself in a situation where I could potentially lose my phone or at a party where some friends might be able to screw with my phone on me, I'm probably never going to use that feature. Now, the camera application itself has been pretty sweet. As you would expect, lightning fast focusing, fantastic 16 megapixel camera to create some really sharp and high-res pictures, and the UI, the camera application itself, Samsung has really improved. Go ahead and click on the settings menu here, and as you can see with this sort of grid view here, it looks so much nicer than any previous generations of their camera applications. Everything you need is right there. I'm really digging the picture stabilization. You've got video stabilization. Of course, you can, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, record up to 4K resolution. It's a really impressive camera. And I really like that they kind of scaled back the amount of modes available with the addition of this virtual tour. So, I mean, imagine you're wanting to, you just moved into a new place, as an example, hypothetically speaking, and you wanted to show all your friends, you can go ahead and take this, create this virtual tour, kind of taking pictures as you go along, and your friends can walk along and, you know, go into different rooms if they want to, as long as you've gone and filmed those rooms. Really cool feature, and I've actually been really quite happy with this camera so far. Really impressive. Now, as far as the battery life on this is concerned, again, I've only been using it for just a little bit over 24 hours, and I'm so far pretty impressed that I have all of my applications downloaded onto this thing. I always have Wi-Fi and data connected. I always have 2 Gmail accounts pulling down. I've got my Twitter account, Instagram, Google Plus, the whole 9 yards. YouTube viewing, I watched about half an hour worth of Netflix the other night. It definitely lasts me all day. That said though, I want to give it another maybe week or 2 towards the full review to give you my full impression of the actual battery life. But so far, I think this is a 2800 milliamp hour battery. It's been pretty damn good. So anyways, guys, in conclusion, based off of my first impressions, I'm really impressed with the device. I'm still not a huge fan of all the gimmicky features that they include in TouchWiz with all the ear gesture features and whatever the hell else they include. And I'm not a huge fan. I really despise the fact that it's got this heart rate monitor on the back. It's not the end of the world, and it's not like it's gonna hurt me. I'm a huge fan that it doesn't have that glossy back anymore. A huge bonus there, and a bigger display, or slightly bigger display. That's cool. USB 3.0 is a massive improvement over standard micro USB. And of course, because this is water and dust resistant, that's a huge bonus for me. I probably feel safer taking this out, doing things outdoors with my friends when we're around lakes and things like that than I would, say, for instance, my HTC One. So far, I'm like, yeah, I'd recommend this to people, but it all depends on what you're looking for in a phone. I'm digging it so far, but based off of this first impression, my HTC One will most likely still be my daily driver after all said and done. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a bit of a glimpse into what you might expect if you decide to go with this device. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, click that likes button down below. And hey, if you're new to the channel, subscribe for more videos in the future. But that's it for now. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.